Hey everybody, today we're going to be working on the absolute value equations exercises, and this would be the assignment listed in Google Classroom as absolute values equations practice 1. So we're going to work our way through the odds. So the first thing you want to do when you're solving equations with absolute values, make sure the absolute value is isolated. In other words, you want to make sure there's nothing outside the absolute value on that side of the equal sign. So there's nothing else over here. We just have the absolute value and the stuff inside. So because of that, we can go ahead and split this. And we're going to write it twice. So we're going to write it without the absolute value and otherwise be unchanged. And the second time we write it, the terms outside the absolute value are going to change signs. So positive 5 will become negative 5. And then we go ahead and solve this. Okay, so you'll see that in the beginning these are fairly straightforward. So we want to get b by itself, so we're going to multiply both sides by 8, because that's in our denominator. So b will be equal to 40. And we're going to solve it the exact same way over here. So we're going to multiply by 8. Then we're going to get b is equal to negative 40. And those are our two answers. But we can go ahead and check that answer if we want. So 40 divided by 8 is 5. The absolute value of 5 is 5. That works. Again, negative 40 divided by 8 is negative 5. The absolute value of negative 5 is positive 5. That works as well. And that's about it. Let's look at number 3. We're going to solve this almost identically. So we're going to multiply. Oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? Let's split and rewrite it because the absolute value is by itself. So we're going to, let's see if I zoom in a little bit more here. There we go. We're going to write x over 4 is equal to 4, and x over 4 is equal to negative 4. We're going to multiply both sides by 4 because that's in our denominator. And that's going to give us x is equal to 16. And here we're going to solve it the exact same way. We're going to multiply by 4. So x will be equal to negative 16. And let's go ahead and check that. So 16 divided by 4 is 4. Absolute value of 4 is 4. That works. Same deal with negative 16. Okay, let's look at the other side here. And it starts to get a little spicy here. So now we have something happening outside the absolute value. So before we split it and rewrite it, we need to get the absolute value by itself, as I indicated earlier. So we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. And that's going to give us the absolute value of x over 3 is equal to 3. And now we can go ahead and solve this. So we split it, so x over 3 is equal to 3. X over 3 is equal to negative 3. And here we go. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3. That's going to give us x is equal to 9. And then here we're going to do something very similar. We're going to multiply both sides by 3. And that'll give us x is equal to negative 9. Okay, those are our two answers. Okay, number 7. So we have 8 in the denominator. So you'll notice this is not inside the absolute value, so that's why we're able to do this. If this was inside the absolute value, we would not be able to do this. So we're multiplying both sides by 8. Oh, I should have had the parentheses all the way over here. What am I doing? There we go. So, yeah. We're going to get absolute value of n minus 4 equals 16. Now we split this and rewrite it because the absolute value is by itself. So n minus 4 is equal to 16. And n minus 4 is equal to negative 16. We're going to add 4 to both sides. N will be equal to 20. And over here we're going to add 4 to both sides. And that'll give us n is equal to negative 12. Okay, there we go. And then the last one on this side, number 9. Alright, so we have a 3 on the outside plus 3, so we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So subtracting 3. So we're going to get absolute value of negative 4 minus 7x equals 67. And then we're going to split this and rewrite it. So negative 4 minus 7x equals 67. Then negative 4 minus 7x equals negative 67. Okay. Alright, now we're going to solve for x here. So let's get rid of our constant first. We're going to add 4 to both sides. And that's going to give us negative 7x is equal to 71. And then we're going to divide by negative 7. And we're going to get a fraction. That's quite alright. So x is equal to negative 10 and a seventh, it looks like. You could leave it as an improper fraction, but I'd rather make it a mixed number. Okay, and then over here we're going to solve it almost identically. We're going to add 4 to both sides. We're going to add 4. And that's going to be negative 7x equals negative 63. We're going to divide by our coefficient, which is negative 7. And that will give us x is equal to positive 9. Okay? And there we go. So that's the first page. Let's get to the second page. Okay. Well, I guess technically it's the third page. Alright, so we'll get 8 in the denominator again, so let's get rid of that. So we're going to multiply both sides by 8. And we're going to have absolute value of 2 minus 3x equals 24. We're going to split that and rewrite it because the absolute value is by itself. So 2 minus 3x equals 24. And then 2 minus 3x equals negative 24. And let's get rid of our constant here, which is 2. So we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. And we're going to get negative 3x equals 22. Let's divide by our coefficient, which is negative 3. Okay, and that's going to be x is equal to, what is that, 7 1/3? Negative 7, yeah, negative 7 1/3. Okay. And then the last part over here, we're going to, same thing, we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. And we're going to get negative 3x is equal to negative 26. And we're going to divide by negative 3. Okay. And we're going to get x is equal to positive, was it 8 2/3? Yep, 8 2/3. Okay. All right, now we come to a problem where we have two things happening outside the absolute value. So it's going to be a little more work. We have negative 4 times the absolute value of negative p minus 10 plus 3. So you want to get rid of this 3 first. Okay, we're going to get rid of that 3. You can almost think of it as a constant. This is a coefficient, really. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. We're going to get negative 4, absolute value of negative p minus 10 equals negative 24. Now you cannot distribute this negative 4. Some students always get the impression, oh, let's distribute it like if it was in outside parentheses. You can't do that. Okay. Well, you could do it, but it wouldn't be right, so it wouldn't work. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 4, because really the operation taking place between that negative 4 and the absolute value is multiplication. There's no symbol there, but we know that's what's happening. So we're going to use the inverse operation of multiplication, which is division. So we're going to write absolute value of negative p minus 10 equals 6. And now we can go ahead and split this and rewrite it. So negative p minus 10 equals 6. Negative p minus 10 equals negative 6. Let's add 10 to both sides. Let's get rid of our constant. And then 6 plus 10 is 16, so negative p equals 16. And then we're going to divide both sides by negative 1, because that's our coefficient. And p would be equal to negative 16. And then over here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add 10 to both sides. And negative 6 plus 10 would be positive 4, so negative p equals 4. And then we're going to divide both sides by negative 1. And that's going to give us p is equal to negative 4. So we have negative 16 and negative 4. Okay. And the last one, very similar problem to the one we just did. We have, I'll zoom in a little so you can see a little better here. So we're going to get rid of the 5 first and then the 10. So we're going to add 5 to both sides. And then 95 plus 5 is 100. So we have 10 times the absolute value of negative 8 minus 6x. And we need to divide both sides by 10. So we're going to divide 10 here and here. And that's going to give us the absolute value of negative 8 minus 6x equals 10. And now we can go ahead and split this. So negative 8 minus 6x equals 10. And negative 8 minus 6x equals negative 10. Okay. We're almost there. We're going to add 8 to both sides. And that's going to give us negative 6x equals 18. Let's divide by our coefficient, which in this case is negative 6. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 6 here and here. And x would be equal to negative 3. Okay, over here, we are going to add 8 to both sides. So we have negative 6x equals negative 2. Divide both sides by negative 6. And then x would be equal to 1/3. Okay, so that's how you do all those. So hopefully, I imagine that should give anybody that's having a hard time with absolute value equations, hopefully that helps you out. And let me know if you have any questions. All right, thanks guys.